Okay, if you're thinking about making the move to Utah in 2026, I'm about to say something that will either save you tens of thousands of dollars or make you immediately want to move. And yes, Saratoga Springs just might be the very best place to live in the state of Utah. Or on the flip side, it could be that place that you regret moving to. And this all depends on one factor that most people tend to ignore. And in the next 15 minutes or so, you're going to know exactly which category you fall into. So today we're doing a real expectations versus reality review of living in Saratoga Springs, Utah in 2026. And look, this is not the brochure version. This is the lived-in version. And yes, this city has been exploding in growth for so many years. Utah's own workforce data shows Saratoga Springs led large Utah cities in growth in 2024 again. The city itself puts its population estimate at about 67 to 68,000 people. And some other independent sources peg that number just slightly higher. But growth can be a double-edged sword. It's either a cheat code or it's a trap. So let's test it and find out. And here's the mistake. People always ask, is this the best city to live in? And they ask this as if there's one singular answer. And honestly, there's just not. So in this video, we're using a 5-factor scorecard. And if Saratoga Springs wins your scorecard, it's a yes. And if it loses, it's a no. And so here are the 5 categories for the scorecard to test to see if Saratoga Springs fits your lifestyle. Number 1 is money and housing, especially the cost of buying real estate in Saratoga Springs. If this passes the test for you, it could be a win. And number 2 is commute and access to jobs, which is super important. Number 3 is safety and peace of mind. Number 4 is family life, community, and amenities, and all of the things that you enjoy in the city from day to day. And last but not least, number 5 is future proof. This means growth, construction, and most importantly, what's happening and what's coming to Saratoga Springs. And stay till the end because I will share with you the exact type of person that Saratoga Springs is perfect for and the type of person who will end up hating it. And I think it's kind of important. You probably want to know which one of those 2 categories you fall into. And best can mean safest, cleanest, cheapest, best schools, best commute, the most fun, and the best long-term value. And overall, Saratoga Springs is competing in one very specific area, one lane in Utah's housing market. And that is newer homes, family lifestyle, incredibly fast growth, and close-ish proximity to Silicon Slopes and so many of the high-paying jobs hitting us here in the Wasatch Front. And all of that and more without paying the higher price tags in neighboring cities like Lehigh, Highland, and Alpine. But here's the trade. You can end up paying for that difference in time and patience. So there are 2 Saratoga Springs experiences. And the first is family-centric communities, newer subdivisions with parks and amenities abound. And on the flip side of that coin, it's construction, commute choke points for sure, as this is one of the worst areas for moving around at rush hour right now. And overall, just a city that's still in building mode. And what I mean by that is the infrastructure is coming. It's well planned out. It's all under construction currently, and it's going to be far better in the near future as Saratoga Springs matures and that commute gets so much better. And your personal experience as to whether or not you enjoy it or if it's the right place for you depends on what your motivating factors are for moving there in the first place. Are you motivated by the space and the quality of the home that you can get for the money, or are you motivated by speed? Saratoga Springs is growing incredibly fast because it offers something quite rare in Utah County. And that is newer housing inventory, planned out neighborhoods, and that fresh new city vibe, all while maintaining great proximity to the Salt Lake City metropolitan area as well. And official city planning pages literally track applications that are pending and approved, meaning this isn't maybe growth, it's actually happening. It's scheduled growth that's happening in real time. And if you buy here, you're not buying into a finished small town. You're buying into a city that's actively becoming something. And that's why you'll see countless projects listed in the city's active project reporting, as well as the construction updates that they put out. And here's exactly why that matters. Growth can raise convenience over time. Now, what do I mean by that? More stores, more roads, more everything really enhances the experience that you'll have in living in Saratoga Springs as these things mature out and the infrastructure is developed and built. It's going to dramatically enhance the lifestyle of living in and moving to and getting into your job from Saratoga Springs. But on the flip side, in the short term, it's more construction, it's more dust, it's more noise, and it's more detours. And why is this road under construction again? fiction. This is reality right now in Saratoga Springs. So let's talk money, because this is where Saratoga Springs can either be a genius move or one that's a little bit painful. If you search home prices in Saratoga Springs, sometimes it feels like you're finding numbers that are contradicting themselves. For example, Zillow might say that the median home price or the average home price in the area could be in the low 500s. Or Redfin might be showing a notable price difference on any given month. And that's not a conspiracy. Utah is what we call a non-disclosure state. In other words, the sale of houses, the sale of properties that happen here in the state of Utah aren't disclosed to third-party integrators like Zillow or Redfin. So their algorithms are doing the best they can based on other data. And while they oftentimes are fairly close, they can also be very, very far off. And different platforms can use different metrics, different time periods, or other criteria by which they're analyzing the data. And here's a general rule that I like to use. If you're considering buying relatively soon into a market, whether that's Saratoga Springs or anywhere else for that matter, in other words, what you'll pay for a home this year, watch that median home price, because that will really tell you the full story. But if you're tracking what the value of real estate is doing over time, you might want to look at more data points that include a larger index of different data points that really tell that story. And in Utah, you can always reach out to me if you're looking for that comparative market analysis for any specific property or just a neighborhood in general. So if you need that information, please reach out to me. That's exactly why I'm here, to be that resource for you. But when it comes to your move to Utah or Saratoga Springs, you're going to want to look at all the data points that really compare and contrast the different neighborhoods within Saratoga Springs, because the spread in these values can vary greatly from neighborhood to neighborhood, depending on proximity to the lake or proximity to other things or amenities, or some neighborhoods just aren't as desirable as others. So those are the little nuances that you want to look for, specifically in Saratoga Springs. So reach out to me if you're looking for the different zones, the different neighborhoods that are going to have those higher values that are likely also going to appreciate better over time. And this is ultimately why Saratoga Springs is so incredibly attractive as a place and a destination where people end up moving to, because of that proximity to Silicon Slopes, to Lehigh, to the I-15 corridor, and the ability to get into the Salt Lake City metropolitan area as well as down to Provo really positions Saratoga Springs in a very unique way where it gets to take advantage of all of it. And depending on your specific situation, you might end up with a little longer commute, but there might be trade-offs that make that worthwhile. And ultimately, I feel like it's that commute factor. That is the one factor that determines if people stay in Saratoga Springs long-term. In other words, if somebody gets a job in downtown Salt Lake City or down in downtown Provo, they may not end up staying here very long just because that drive can really start wearing on you, especially right now where that infrastructure is under construction. But as that really comes online and those construction projects are completed, it's probably going to soften that quite a bit for a lot more people, which of course will drive up values in this area. And I really feel strongly that this particular area is going to see a significant bump in appreciation once these projects are completed in the next few years. And when it comes to most people moving here to Saratoga Springs, they're tied to places like Lehigh, Silicon Slopes corridor, along I-15, right there in the transition between Utah and Salt Lake counties, or they might be tied to Provo, and for some people, they even go into Salt Lake City. But there's also so many people that work remotely, and for that reason, Saratoga Springs is thriving more than ever. So over the last 5 to 7 years, Saratoga Springs has been fueled by all of the different events and things that have happened in Utah and nationwide that have spurred the growth of people looking to live somewhere more desirable because they have more flexibility with respect to their job. And this means remote workers love Saratoga Springs. But if that's not you and you do have to make that commute into your job, Saratoga Springs is oftentimes talked about as one of the worst areas for traffic right now, and I honestly would have to agree. I drive 35, maybe sometimes upwards of 38,000 miles per year, so I get to see the worst of traffic depending on which part of the valley or valleys that I'm in. I've driven everywhere at all times of the day, and I would agree this area is tough when you make that transition from getting off of I-15 in Lehigh and you're working your way out to Saratoga Springs. It can really be a drag. The good news, however, is that this drag is going to turn into a real positive as this construction project in terms of the freeways that are being built comes online and really transforms the future of Saratoga Springs forever. And if you are considering Saratoga Springs, before you sign anything, do these things. Do your commute in real time. In other words, catch it on a Tuesday morning or a Thursday evening at 5 o'clock. Get to experience the worst of it so that you can see if this is a place that you can stomach for the next few years until these projects come online, to make sure that this is a place that you could really, really enjoy. And the next pro tip is to test 2 different routes. Oftentimes, especially in Saratoga Springs, there might be a couple different roads that you could take to get into or even come back from the places that you have to go to work. So you might want to choose those alternate routes and just try it a couple of different ways. And I would always recommend adding that extra 15 to 20 minutes just as a buffer until you really get a handle on the traffic patterns and you're fully aware as to what you should expect in terms of commute times to get into work. And if your job is flexible, hybrid, or you work in North Utah County, Saratoga Springs can feel like a massive upgrade. If you're daily commuting at peak hours through choke points like this city can quietly drain your time, and also your time is your lifestyle. Now, if commute time is the cost of living in Saratoga Springs, it more than makes up for it in terms of safety and all of the other benefits that Saratoga Springs provides. And to me, that's really good news. And with respect to safety, Saratoga Springs is an amazing place to live. It's clean, it's beautiful. Overall, it's just an amazing place to move to and to live in. And what that means in real life is so many people and families choose Saratoga Springs over so many areas because it is new and it is clean and it's very safe, and it just feels like such a family-centric, family-oriented community that most people envision themselves really digging in and planting roots and making this their new home. And so if safety is pretty high up on your scorecard, Saratoga Springs is really competitive in that department. But let's talk about lifestyle, especially when centered around family, because that's where Saratoga Springs really flexes its value. And look, Saratoga Springs is built around family activities and the outdoors. Inlet Park is literally a trailhead hub, Utah Lake Shoreline Trail, Jordan River Access, and it's a gateway to the Saratoga Hot Springs. And the Hot Springs Trail is a known local spot that starts right from that particular area. And if you've got kids, you're going to care about those parks, those trails, and overall just weekend routines. And Saratoga Springs is really strong here, especially if you're the type of family that really takes advantage of those amenities and you like to get outdoors. And while on the topic of families and safety, we may as well also talk about schools. Saratoga Springs is part of the Alpine School District, a very highly rated district here in the state of Utah. Now, the boundaries of different schools can change rapidly with all of the growth that's coming, but overall, it's a very good area for not only the growth that's happening, but also the schools. And so if you're really curious, we want to make sure that we verify the address that you're considering and check it with school boundaries to make sure that we know which schools you'd be plugging into so that you can do further research to make sure they're the right ones for you. And this is the trade-off. You're living in the suburbs. You're not living downtown with all of the nightlife. You're trading that all off so that you have that really nice family community where the weekends and the evenings really thrive around getting outdoors and enjoying your time together. Okay, now we have to address the elephant in the room, and that is Utah Lake. Some people, if they're moving to Utah and they see that big giant lake in Utah Lake, they think it's the most desirable place to live next to. And honestly, that's just not the case. Utah's Environmental Quality Department maintains recreational monitoring, updates, and advisories with respect to Utah Lake. And in 2025, the updates, including several Utah Lake areas, including sites like the Saratoga Springs Marina, were reported as looks good during monitoring updates at those times. But in certain times of the year, especially the late summer months, there can be algae blooms in Utah Lake because Utah Lake is a very shallow lake, which means the water gets really warm in the summertime, and being stagnant water that gets warm, it's prone to having those algae blooms. So Utah Lake is not the lake that most people here in Utah go recreate at that lake, but it certainly is something that really provides a really good view, especially as you look across the lake and see a reflection of the Wasatch Mountains. And all of this is just part of living close to nature and being outdoors. Be cognizant of what things are and what they aren't, because this will really enhance your experience and your expectations will be met with reality. Now let's land the plane, because the question is Saratoga Springs the best city in Utah to live in 2026? And the answer to that really comes down to, is it the best place for you specifically? And that depends on who you are. And here's my verdict for 2026. Saratoga Springs is the best city in Utah to move to and live in 2026 for a very specific type of person. And whether or not that type of person is you depends on how you answer these simple questions. Do you want space and newer homes and communities more than you want the shorter commute times into the city, or just overall access to the nightlife and everything that happens in the urban center of Salt Lake City? Question number 2, are you building a family-first or family-oriented lifestyle? In other words, are the neighborhoods, the amenities, the parks, and the trails all that important to you? And the next question is, can you handle living in a really fast-growing city that you're going to have to compete with the construction projects for quite a few more years? And last, are you okay living next to Utah Lake? And you know what? It's not all bad. In fact, a lot of people want to be close to the lake. Even though we don't really have a lot of problems that come from it, it's not necessarily the most desirable thing to live right next to. But the good news is most people that live in Saratoga Springs, the vast majority, don't live very close to Utah Lake. And on the flip side of all of this, I can tell you right now, Saratoga Springs is not the place for you if you need a fast, predictable commute into the city to go to work. Or if you want that walkable nightlife or that urban experience where the cities are completely built out with mature tree-lined streets, that's just not Saratoga Springs yet. Or ultimately, if construction and rapid growth stresses you out, then maybe Saratoga Springs is not the place for you either. And if you do choose to move here and you have the right expectations, in my opinion, Saratoga Springs more than over-delivers. If you move here expecting a completed, finished, frictionless city, well then reality can hit pretty hard. And if you want to make that decision quickly, just check your own scorecard. How does this check the boxes for you personally? And as always, I'm here to be your real estate resource of choice. Reach out to me. My team and I are here for you to guide you along the way to make sure that you land in the perfect place for you. So reach out to me. You can find my contact information down in the description below, or you can also book a video call with me in that link that you'll find in the pinned comment on this and every video. And if this content helps you, make sure to hit that subscribe button as I come out with more videos every single week that will help guide you along the way. Hit that subscribe button. It will be worth it. And if you're looking to learn more about life in Utah, check out this playlist next. And until next time, thanks.